Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. If you live in or even just travel to the National Capital Region, you already know the annual drill. As soon as the temperature drops, the skies turn gray, and just stepping outside to breathe becomes a daily hazard. But listen, this year, the rules of the game are drastically changing. Today, we're breaking down the newly released government regulations specifically designed to tackle Delhi's winter smog. So let's just dive right into this winter air survival guide.
What we are looking at is the official Delhi Gazette notification, which was published on June 23, 2026. Now, I want to make something super clear right off the bat. These aren't just polite suggestions. We're talking about a comprehensive, preemptive legal strike by the Delhi government. They've essentially taken all those previous fragmented orders and consolidated them into one incredibly powerful, legally binding document.
So here is our survival guide for today. We're going to cover 6 key areas: winter smog rules, vehicles and commuting, Delhi's work culture, dust and construction, open waste burning, and finally, compliance and fines. Okay, starting with Section 1, winter smog, the new rules. This is the comprehensive plan to tackle Delhi's annual air crisis. The hard data driving this whole policy is pretty striking. Over the last 3 years, from 2023 to 2026, historical data shows our Air Quality Index, or AQI, consistently hits a median between 312 and 342 during the winter, and honestly, it often spikes up to almost 500. This critical danger zone runs exactly from November 1st straight through to the end of February. Because this is a guaranteed, every single year event, the government is no longer waiting for the air to turn toxic before doing something. They've officially defined this 4-month window as a period requiring extraordinary intervention. Moving on to Section 2, impact on vehicles and commuting. Basically what you absolutely need to know before you get behind the wheel. First up is the PUCC mandate. Having a valid pollution under control certificate is now a strict prerequisite just to buy fuel. Doesn't matter if it's petrol, diesel, or CNG, pump operators are legally bound to check your certificate. And they aren't just glancing at a faded piece of paper anymore. This is backed by electronic verification linked right to the centralized Vahan database and automatic number plate recognition cameras. If you try to fuel up without a valid PUC, you are going to be heavily penalized. Seriously, do yourself a favor and get your emissions checked today. Get ready for a massive financial hit if you plan on driving a private car. From November 1st to February 28th, parking charges at authorized sites across the entire city will be doubled. Yep, 2 times the normal fee. The single exception to this rule? Parking lots owned by the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. Why? Because the government is desperately trying to push people toward a park and ride model using public transit. Now, if you are commuting into the capital from a neighboring state, the rules are just as intense. From November 1st to January 31st, entry into Delhi is heavily restricted. If your out-of-state vehicle runs on CNG, electricity, or it meets the latest BS6 emission standards, you're good to go. Emergency vehicles are clear too, obviously. But if you drive an older vehicle that falls below BS6 standards, you are completely banned from entering Delhi. No exceptions whatsoever. All right, Section 3, changing how Delhi works. We're looking at staggered timings and work-from-home mandates. To help decongest the roads, the government is actually leading by example by legally staggering office hours. So from November through February, offices under the Municipal Corporation of Delhi are going to run from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Meanwhile, offices under the Delhi government will operate from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. It's a simple shift, but it breaks up that massive rush hour traffic load significantly. But staggering alone just isn't enough. For 3 critical months, November 1st to January 31st, there is a strict 50% work-from-home mandate. This applies to government offices where only half the staff can be physically present. But here's the real game changer. This legally applies to all private offices operating within Delhi as well. Literally, only 50% of your workforce is allowed to be physically in the office. Which brings us to the strict civic responsibilities placed on private businesses. If you run a company in Delhi, you have to cap that physical attendance at 50%. You also have to implement your own staggered working hours. And beyond that, you are legally instructed to actively minimize your employees' vehicular movement. That means you need to be promoting carpooling, ride-sharing, and organizing common buses. District magistrates are actively directed to make sure companies are complying with this. Section 4, tackling dust and construction. This is where we get into strict bans and mandatory anti-smog technology. Mark your calendars for this one. On November 1st, a ban on dust-generating outdoor civil construction kicks in. Then we hit an absolute freeze period from December 10th to January 20th. During this window, there is a total, complete ban on all construction and demolition activities, unless it's an extremely urgent national project. The full ban finally lifts on Jan 20th, and that initial outdoor civil construction ban ends on Jan 31st. And to ensure nobody tries to quietly bend the rules during that peak freeze between December 10th and January 20th, the transport of building materials is entirely cut off. Seriously, no vehicles carrying sand, stone, bricks, cement, or debris will even be allowed to cross the city borders. The traffic police are going to be actively monitoring all entry hubs. Now, what about dust that's already floating around? The government is mandating massive technological interventions. If you manage a commercial high-rise over 3,000 square meters, think malls or large hotels, or if you manage an under-construction site over 1,000 square meters, you absolutely must install anti-smog guns or mist systems. These had to be fully installed by August 15th. And here's the catch. They aren't just for winter. You have to operate them year-round, only pausing for the monsoon and peak summer months between May 1st and September 15th. Section 5. Stopping open waste burning. This covers community responsibilities for RWAs and institutions. You know how it's super common to see security guards burning wood or even just piles of leaves to stay warm during those freezing winter nights? Well, not anymore. Resident welfare associations, housing societies, and private institutions are now legally responsible for ensuring zero open burning happens on their premises. And don't think anyone can just hide it. The government is literally deploying aerial and drone surveillance to monitor for incidents, especially at night. To stop staff from burning biomass in the first place, RWAs are legally required to provide clean heating, like electric heaters, to all their night guards and staff. Finally, Section 6, Compliance, Fines, and You. Let's talk about enforcement and legal penalties. Well, I'll just let the Gazette notification speak for itself here. Quote, punitive action under Section 15 of the Environment Protection Act 1986, including prosecution, environmental compensation, and sealing of premises. End quote. Non-compliance is no longer just a slap on the wrist or a minor annoyance. It can result in massive financial penalties, actual criminal prosecution, and literally having your business or premises legally sealed off by the authorities. District magistrates and the Delhi police have been fully empowered to enforce this aggressively. So ultimately, it all comes down to this. The outcome and significance of this massive Gazette notification hinges entirely on our public cooperation paired with the strict government enforcement. It really is a shared civic duty. We all have to change our commuting habits, our working routines, and our community oversight if we actually want a breathable winter in Delhi. The rules are in place, but the real question is, will this finally be the year Delhi breaks the smog cycle, or will old habits die hard? Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, share, and subscribe the channel for more videos. Stay safe, breathe easy, and I'll catch you next time.